Prime Minister, you're here in Ukraine today. This is your last big act as Prime Minister. What's your message to President Zelensky as you prepare to stand down?
My message to President Zelensky is one I delivered at the press conference, but I'd also delivered privately to him. And that is that the UK commitment to Ukraine will not waver. We will be there for as long as it takes and a long time afterwards. And it was really important as I stepped down that I told that to President Zelensky. And I wouldn't have said it publicly if I hadn't had the opportunity to talk it through with him privately. And I'm absolutely confident that the UK support will not waver. And he really needs to have that reassurance because, of course, the relationship between the UK and Ukraine has been very strong since the outbreak of the conflict. It's been particularly strong in the last 2 years. And I have got to know him. We've had a personal friendship, a very closeness in terms of his thinking, how he's approaching the conflict, the decisions he takes. And I wanted to and did give him that reassurance.
Because he said in the press conference, didn't he? He said, I'm afraid of the change.
I think what he means by that is there's a degree of uncertainty, but he needn't be. I really am clear about that. I wouldn't have given that reassurance if I wasn't absolutely sure in my own mind. This is far too serious for that. And therefore, I'm absolutely clear the relationship between the UK and Ukraine will not waver in any way whatsoever.
So, PM, you've always said recently that you will not offer advice to your successor,
No.
but you are sending a message to your successor here.
No, I'm not. No, I think that the UK support for Ukraine is deep in the psyche of the British public.
Yeah.
If you go around the country, we've got Ukrainian flags on churches, on town halls, in people's gardens. These are voluntary acts by the British people. We've managed to achieve unity across the House of Commons from the start of the conflict, and therefore I have no doubt about the future. And this isn't, I'm not in the business of sending advice or messages to my successor. I will give him my full support.
But have you had assurances from him?
Well, I would not have said what I said to President Zelensky, which is really important if I wasn't confident about what I was saying. And that is really important. I'm not somebody else's spokesperson. I'm not telling somebody else what to do or offering advice. But this conflict is serious.
Yeah.
This is about values of democracy and freedom, values that are really important to the British. And I would not have given the assurance I did give if I wasn't 100% confident about it.
Okay. And you also said something you haven't said before today. You said you now believe Ukraine can win this war. You haven't said that before.
I believe Ukraine will win this war. I think that the last 6 months have been a real turning point because at the beginning of the conflict, everybody assumed that Russia would win within a matter of weeks. We are now in year 5, and what has happened in that time is Ukraine has begun to push back on the front this year. Medium range and long range missiles have been used to great effect. The economic sanctions have had real damage to the Russian economy, the work that's been done on the shadow fleet. But the other reason I think we sometimes miss this is that one of the consequences of 4.5 years of conflict here in Ukraine is they now have one of the most effective, efficient military forces anywhere in Europe. They're tech savvy, they've got incredible skills on the front line. Their drone warfare has gone from, I remember the early days seeing their capability to now world-leading capability. What they've shown is that it's not just the size of your army, it's how you fight a modern conflict. And so they are probably the most effective fighting machine in Europe.
Yeah,
that is what 4.5 years. So they will win this conflict. They will get the
When
justice.
will they win this conflict?
Well, I don't think anybody can put a date on that, but it's significant that this year the mood has changed in Moscow, actually across Europe. One of the reasons I genuinely believe that we've had such strong statements coming out of the G7 meeting, the global leaders meeting a few weeks ago, and out of NATO more recently, is because across the world people are beginning to appreciate that actually the tide is turning and Ukraine will win this conflict, and quite right too.
PM, you've spent a lot of time on foreign affairs. You care deeply, clearly, about Ukraine. You've worked very hard with Zelensky and Macron. You're clearly leaving office before you are ready. You would not have chosen to go now. Why have your MPs rejected you after such a short time?
Well, the way I look at this is not just the 2 years we've had in government, but the 6.5 years that I've been on the front line. I took over the leadership of the Labour Party early in 2020. We had just lost the 2019 election. That was the worst election result for the Labour Party since 1935, and most people thought the Labour Party is finished, it will never win again. And even those that were a bit more optimistic said, if they do win again, it'll take 10 years. I'd never believed that. I turned it around. We ripped out anti-Semitism. We forced the party to face the country, and we began to make real progress. Begrudgingly, people said, well, you might win, but it'll be a coalition because you won't get a majority. And we got a landslide victory. So for the parliamentary party, the question, who was the right person to save our party, to take it to victory in a general election and second biggest majority ever of a Labour government, that's answered. I've answered that question. They're now asking the question, who's best to take us into 2029? They've given the answer to that question.
Do you agree with the answer?
I accept it. I accept it.
That's a different answer to agreeing with it.
I accept it, but I accept it, and this is really important, with good grace.
You've said that.
And therefore, from the moment I took the final decision, I have not only done it in good grace, I've done it trying to ensure that there's an orderly transition and that my successor can succeed. And I believe that to be true. I think we've built strong foundations, a stable economy, which it's impossible to imagine that we've done in 2 years, much stronger public services, huge measures on child poverty. We'll do more on child poverty than any government, including the Labour government. We've done more on defence and security. We've enhanced our international reputation. Now that is a sound foundation to go on and win in 2029. And amongst the reasons that I accept the decision of my parliamentary colleagues, I'm going in good grace and want to support what comes next is I believe in my country, I want my country to thrive. And in the end, I've said in many interviews with you, country first, and I mean it and I'm going to live it.
Do you think if you'd stayed on, you could have won the next election? Labour could have won with you as the leader?
I've always believed we would win the next election, but the decision about who's best placed to take us into 2029 is a decision the parliamentary party has taken. I accept it in good grace. And I look on the 6.5 years to have taken my party from near oblivion to the second biggest landslide victory, and to have built 2 years solid foundations for our country, and to leave the country in a better state than I found it. I'm proud of that, and I will now happily spend more time with Vic and the kids.
I want to come on to Vic and the kids.
The most high-profile job in the country, the most important, which is to be the best dad I can to my kids, the best husband I can to my wife. And I'm looking forward to that.
And I want to ask you about Vic and the kids in a moment, but Morgan McSweeney, your former chief of staff and your campaign manager who helped win that landslide, he said that we didn't prepare enough for office. Do you agree with that?
I agree with Morgan on many things, but not that.
Okay.
And if you look at what's happened in the 2 years, the economy was broken when we inherited it. It is now stable. Even the figures that have come out today on growth are better than expected. We've got the best growth in the G7, and we've stabilised the economy, even though we've got the conflict in Iran going on. Our NHS has got the fastest drop in waiting lists for 17 years. Child poverty will be record numbers that we're lifting out of poverty. And internationally, nobody could argue that we're not in a better place. And therefore, that's not just a plan, that is a plan being implemented.
But when
None of these things fall from the sky.
When I hear you talking about your achievements as a Labour leader and then Prime Minister, it must hurt to have to leave.
Look, it's a very difficult decision to decide to end your political career. Of course it is, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend otherwise. And what I've had to grapple with is the question, what is the answer of my parliamentary colleagues to the question about 2029, and accept that. What is the best thing for the country? what's the best thing for the government, and then the intensely personal, which is, am I going to end my political career? That in the end becomes something which, for all the discussions with parliamentary colleagues, teams in number 10, my parliamentary and
That's
political
your decision.
team, in the end, for me, it may be different for other people. It boiled down to a deeply, deeply personal decision. Am I prepared to end my political career? And I've answered that question. I answered it having spent the weekend with Vic and the kids, and only Vic and the kids.
But you said to me a year ago, we were doing another interview ahead of elections, and I was asking you about Nigel Farage, and I asked, how would you feel if he beat you? And you said, I hate the thought of losing to anyone.
Yep.
I mean, your own side, your opponents. It's hard for you.
It is hard, of course. I mean, I do hate any time when we don't win, but it's very important to look at the last 6.5 years as a big win, because taking the party from near oblivion, possibly never winning again, to winning a landslide victory, and then putting in place the foundations of a better country, leaving the country better than you found it, which is the test of any Prime Minister. I'm proud of that. That is a win. I will now go on and spend time with
I'm
Vic
going
and
to
the
come
kids,
to this
and
because
that's really important to me.
I want to come to this because in June at the G7, you were so clear to me. You said, I'm not going to walk away, I'm going to fight. And then less than a week later, you announced that you were going to stand down. I really believed you at the G7 that that's how you felt. So what changed in those few days?
I had to reflect on the answer my parliamentary colleagues are given on the question about who should lead us into 2029. And I felt that it was right to apply the same principles I've always applied, which is what is in the best interest of the country. How do I ensure that we don't implode into some massive fight in government? And how do I do my bit to ensure that the solid foundation that we have built continues as the basis for that 2029 win by the Labour Party, which I believe it can be.
So you sort of almost had to put your own ego aside a bit in that moment?
I think it was I've always said country first, and I've always meant country first, and that means in the end I felt I had to take the decision of what was in the best interest of the country. And I do that with good grace, because that is what I've lived by, that is the right thing to do. But it is also, Beth, something intensely personal in the end, because it is a decision to end your political career, and I just needed the space to really think that through. And there's been a lot of noise around me, a lot of people having a lot of conversations.
It must have been intense.
I needed just to be on my own with Vic in particular, our kids as well, and they were the only people I was with that weekend. I didn't speak to anybody else pretty much that weekend.
I know, I was trying to phone everyone and no one had spoken to you.
And in the end it came down to me and my family making decisions.
Can I ask you, what did Vic say to you? Because what did Vic think?
Well, I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of what Vic said, but I can tell you this. Through every step she's been with me.
Yeah.
The good, the bad, the challenging, the great moments, the victory nights, the really low moments, when somebody tried to burn our house down, our family house, when my brother died. The last few months, which have not been easy, but she's been there at my side every step of the way. And so that's why we had to take the decision together. And that's the way we will always be. And I do realise how lucky I am to have such a rock. Because there are lots of highs in politics, there are a number of lows, and to have someone by your side who is 100% part of an inseparable team is remarkable. And so of course I was going to talk it through with Vic, talk about the pros, the cons, how it left us as a family. But also I do have to reflect on the fact that 6.5 years on the front line,
it takes a toll.
Impacts on your family.
Takes a toll on
I've
the family,
tried so hard for it not to. We've protected the kids. I've tried to make
Yeah.
time for them, but there's no pretending that there haven't been, I don't know how many times when I've said, we can't do that,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I've got to do this, or
Did
I
the
know...
did the kids want you back? Did the kids want you to come back in that way? They
I
want
think
you to
they
stand down?
did. No, I don't think they wanted me to stand down, but they wanted me to spend more time with them. But they always have, and I'm always conscious that it's their time that
Yeah.
often is given up, and now I can spend more time with them, which is fantastic.
It's also quite an achievement as a parent if your teenagers actually want to spend time with
Well,
you. So
yes,
congratulations.
we're still in that space at the moment, but
I mean, I was going to say, you tweeted on Father's Day, and this was the day before you resigned. Being a dad is my greatest joy. Today I'm thinking about my dad and the father I am to my children because of him. Happy Father's Day. And then you spoke about the kids again at your resignation speech. You said being the Prime Minister is the biggest job, but being the father is the most important job. So that came into the decision making for you.
I can't. This is part of who I am. They're my pride and my joy. Every day
Yeah.
I take pride in them, every little thing they do. It's a unconditional love for my children. And of all the things I've done in my life, having our two children is by far the best thing. It's been a joint project of me and Vic from the very start. When they were born, we looked at each other and said, what do we want for our children? And we decided we wanted happy and confident. And that is all we've set out to achieve with them, that they're happy and confident. And every time I look at them, it gives me such a sort of well of feeling inside. And so to be able to spend a bit more time with them now is a great step forward.
And PM, you're here securing your legacy. How would you like to be remembered?
I mean, in a sense, that'll be for others to decide. But as the person that saved the Labour Party, turned it into a party that could face the public again. And we were a party that were found to be institutionally anti-Semitic, that was not fit, actually, to face the country and the electorate. And we turned that around. And we did that in a relatively short period of time. It was 4.25 years from me taking over as leader of the Labour Party to walking into Downing Street with a landslide majority. That is hard, bloody work. Forcing a party to change at pace, to win an election, and then in 2 years, to have stabilised the country, to leave it in a better state. And on the international stage, I do think, and you will have observed yourself at international meetings and gatherings, we have transformed the standing of the United Kingdom, the personal relationships with international leaders, the trust that is now put in the UK, and the sense that when other countries are looking for leadership, they're looking to the UK again. And I'm really proud of that, because I've always felt the UK had a huge amount to offer on the international stage. We're pragmatists, we're leaders, we're able to bridge and bring together. We'd lost that in the last decade. And we've got it back. We've got our mojo back as a country.
And when you walk out of the door for the final time on Monday, how do you think you're going to feel? Is it going to be relief, pride, sadness, a big cocktail of emotion?
Pride, big pride in everything that I've achieved. When I came into politics in 2015, I didn't think I'd be leader of the Labour Party. I didn't think I'd be Prime Minister. That has never been my lifelong ambition. I thought with a bit of luck, Will, when in 2015 I might become Attorney General one day. So this wasn't a great project, but in 2019 it was obvious to me that our party was on the brink, and that somebody had to step up as a sense of duty to the party and to the country. Actually, you need a good, strong Labour Party for the country to function properly. So I stepped up into that space, and having stepped up, I thought, well, I'm not just going to stay here, I'm going to go on and I'm going to win the election. And I never had any doubt in my mind about that. Everybody along the way said, it's not going to happen, you're not going to do it, it's not possible. And every time I said, it is, you watch, we would, we did. And we won a general election, and I'm very proud of that. So I shall walk out with pride, and I shall walk out looking forward to the next chapter, which is spending time with Vic and the kids, being, as I say, the best husband I can to my wife, who has stuck with me and been with me every step of the way, and it's impacted her hugely. And the best dad I can be to my kids. What a wonderful thing to look forward to.
What, hanging out with teenagers? I mean,
Yes.
yeah, no, it is.
You know, look,
it's not. I think it's lovely. Your kids want to spend time with you.
My
Yeah.
son is a fantastic young man, just turned 18, and we do a lot of things together. My daughter is a beautiful 15-year-old, going on 19, who has got her dad absolutely wound round her little finger.
Your dad didn't really tell you he loved you much. You know, it's
No.
been widely written about, and you really do want to publicly talk about your kids in that way. Is that really important to you because you didn't have
to
it?
Be a different dad than my dad was. It was a generational thing. It was different in those days. He saw his job as going out, earning the money, but also my mum was so very ill all of her life that she needed my dad to provide so much to her, and he did, and he gave her such sort of unconditional love and support that I don't think he had space, emotional space, for us in the way that he might otherwise have had. We didn't hug, we didn't have the sort of relationship, but I was determined to do it differently with my children. And we have done it differently, and it gives me great joy.
Well, it's good to know that actually after what's been quite a rough few months that you are very optimistic actually about walking out of the door.
I go with pride. 10. I go knowing that I leave the country in a better state than I found it, and I go knowing I've left the foundation for Labour to win the next general election. And I go out and I will immediately that afternoon spend time with Vic and the kids. And I look forward to that.
So my final question is, as you hand on the baton, you believe that you set Andy Burnham up to win the next general election, and part of the next phase of this administration's success is your success?
I hope so. We've built the foundation for this now, and Labour can go on and win that election. I think we'll go on and win that election. I'm proud to hand over the party in good shape to Andy Burnham, hand over the country in good shape to Andy Burnham. I will support him all the way. I'll give advice if it's asked for, and I'll give it privately. I will not give advice if it's not asked for, and I certainly won't give it publicly. I will give my full support, and that is what I mean. I want my country to thrive, and I'm sure it'll be a great success going forward.
Okay, Prime Minister, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you.